It feels good to be back after what's been a huge break. The car restoration took a lot of my time up, but it's pretty much finished now and just needs a few finishing touches. But it was a soil pipe issue that was responsible for most of my absence. Part of the house was flooded and the resultant damage has taken months to fix. The upside of all that though is that it created an opportunity to build a downstairs cloakroom. There was a lot of external groundwork for soil and water pipes needed, and due to time constraints it also meant that I had to finish the greenhouse build without being able to record the last few episodes for the series that had started on the channel. I've really missed filming the videos and I've been looking for a little project to get me going again. As part of the cloakroom build I made a little cupboard to hide a water heater. With it being bespoke I needed to build a couple of doors for the front and decided to try and make them out of MDF and use a CNC to machine them. Before all this chaos started I'd been having a go at putting together some basic Vectric CNC tutorials, and I thought this might be a good little project to get me started again. But I've been away from the CNC now for nearly 2 years and it's amazing how quickly you can forget how things work. So I've uploaded this video not as a tutorial but more of a what I've done video, and hopefully I can get back to making more of the tutorial videos once I've re-familiarised myself with Vectric. I'd like the doors to be a similar design to other doors that I have in the house, and it's quite a simple pattern. There's a few different ways to design this using Vectric, and I'm going to do it the way that's easiest for me. I'd be interested to know if there's a better or easier way to do it than I've done, so feel free to comment on the video if you know a different approach. So on opening a new file, I normally select the XY datum to be 00 in the centre, but to make designing the doors easier, I selected the XY datum to be in the bottom left. I've done this so that I can work off positive X and Y values when I'm calculating for my guidelines. If I was to use 00 from the centre now, I'd have to calculate the guideline positions a slightly different way. So I'll create my design this way and later on I'll transfer the design to a file with the XY datum in the middle, as I find that easier to position materials on the CNC bed ready for machining. So after creating the outside edges of the cupboard door with the rectangle tool, it's time to set up some guidelines, and I've already worked out the positions on a separate piece of scrap paper. Because I've used XY datum on the bottom left, it was a lot easier to work out the measurements for the guidelines and transfer those to Vectric. Sometimes I can't quite drag the guides to the exact location I need, but it's easy enough just to right click the guidelines and input the coordinates manually. With the guidelines in place I can use them to help create the design that I'm after. I can place a rectangle onto the guidelines for the first toolpath, and then I can draw individual vertical lines for the second toolpath, which I'll snip off with the scissor tool. I'll be fixing a little pull to the cupboard door, so to help me locate the position, I'll machine a little tiny more which I can use later on to help drill the holes by hand for the pull. I find machining a lot easier when I'm working from an XY datum from the centre, so I've opened up a new file with the datum in the middle and just copied and pasted the design, and I'm now ready to create the toolpaths. There's just 3 simple toolpaths I need for this project. The first is the design for the front, which is basically a shallow profile cut that follows the vectors I drew. I used a 3.175mm cutter for this, and as the cutter is only small, I also used the same cutter to mark the circle for the door pull. Another profile toolpath is used to cut out the door, although this profile is on the outside of the vectors, whereas for the front design the profile cut was on the vectors. A few tabs also help to secure the door whilst it's being cut. And that's it really, a nice simple to make cupboard door. When it comes to cutting on the machine, I always tend not to cut too much off in one pass. I could machine this in a lot less time, but I find there's less chance of problems just by adding a few more passes. I'm in no rush, but if time was money I'd definitely be looking to change a few settings. It's not often that I paint things, so I don't have all the necessary tools, and a lack of a roller tray was soon solved by just applying paint with a brush and going over it with a small roller. The end result wasn't too bad. I think the cupboard actually looks alright and finishes off the cloakroom quite nicely, and it was a nice simple project to get me back into machining again.